lemon-scented freedom of speech since 1787.
KPFK 90.7 Los Angeles, the Cary Harrison Files. Crack the code and break the lock. Racing shadows round the clock. We're the ones to find the truth. For every soul denied the truth. Yeah, we'll find the truth. The Cary Harrison Files.
And it is the Cary Harrison Files. Welcome, coming to you live from Switzerland today. Neutral Switzerland, where I could be neutral for once. Good luck. Doesn't matter where you're located. If your eyes are open, you're going to see what's actually happening. I just happen to be safe here. And I know we're all jealous. I wish we could all go there. This is where I went to boarding school some years ago. We just had the 100th anniversary of Institute Montana, and I was the master of ceremonies for 4 different events, a super honor, but the show goes on. So I'm using the studio at the school right now, and we're going to talk about what has just happened. Open up the phones to get your input, because all of this matters. And, every week we say, it's never been like this. This is emergency. Well, here we are again. We are live streaming, by the way, on YouTube. We're live streaming on Instagram. Simply Google Cary Harrison, C-A-R-Y Harrison, Instagram, Cary Harrison, YouTube, anything with a chip and a signal, and you can watch it. So if you're driving, you pull up somewhere, jump out, grab your phone. You can keep on watching and listening. Don't forget to get our newsletter at caryharrison.com. And there you're going to get a full transcript of today's show, including our awesome guest who's going to break down to the molecule everything that's going on. And you're going to want to be able to read it. Plus, we're able to add extra things into the newsletter that we cannot say on the radio today because the FCC doesn't want us to say anything except play relaxing, easy favorites. So we're going to pretend that these are relaxing, easy favorites right now. So grab a chair, pour some coffee, brace yourself, because what you're about to hear is the political equivalent of a flaming garbage truck rolling downhill with no brakes. And this isn't just a mess. It's a deluxe, gold-plated, top-shelf cluster thingy. Welcome to modern politics, where loyalty isn't just about principles anymore. It's about who can glue themselves hardest to power with industrial strength bullpoopy and enough public arse kissing to make a circus seal file a lawsuit. Now, the bar didn't just get lower just now. No, it got buried 6 feet under a septic tank and then peed on for good measure. And maybe that's now our new standard. Maybe we've evolved past quaint little ideas like, consistency or integrity, or the embarrassing notion that saying one thing and then doing the exact opposite for 10 straight years should make you look like a jackass. Well, we don't live in Europe. This is just in the States called rebranding, where hypocrisy isn't a flaw anymore. It's a career strategy with a media tour. Enter the late Senator Lindsey Graham, or Lady G, as he was commonly known in Washington, D.C. His political obituary reads less like a farewell and more like a case study in how to bend so far you can practically tie yourself into a human pretzel. And we're not talking about his private life yet. According to John Casey over at The Advocate, Lindsey Graham didn't just drift toward power. He sprinted at it, ditching old convictions like yesterday's used underwear. My words, not his. The piece that he has written also touches on long-running public speculation about Graham's personal life while pointing out his consistent opposition to LGBTQ rights over the years, as in many years. Somehow, we're having the usual screaming match now about whether death means we all shut up or whether we're allowed to call BS when we see it. Washington is now the only place on earth where twisting yourself into ideological knots counts as a workout. Bend enough, flip enough, kiss enough rings, or whatever swollen or turgid body parts gets you invited back to the table, and boom, you've got a brand new belief system right before lunch. It's political baby talk with a side of shameless groveling. Meanwhile, the rest of us are supposed to clap like trained dolphins, getting tossed a frozen fish for not asking too many questions, right? You've been told to shut up over and over again now recently. So it's the most impressive self-licking ice cream cone this side of democracy. Power's a hell of a drug. It always has been. It whispers sweet lies. It buys fancy dinners. It promises that you're going to matter forever, like ChatGPT. And then it leaves you wondering when exactly you sold your spine for a seat at the table. Trans actress Jessie James Rose claims Lindsay paid the then him for sex when she was a college student before her transition. These are still allegations rather than established fact, just to be clear. But for some of you, Lindsey Graham was in many ways interchangeable with the average drag queen on an Atlantis cruise. Yet somehow, for all of us, he remained remarkably exempt from official scrutiny. Similar as a mystery like Liberace in Vegas ziplining down to his piano in billowing chiffon under a mink coat while draped in jewelry. Meanwhile, Mildred apparently was swooning in the audience, somehow confusing Liberace to a aeronautic John Wayne or something, if we're to believe any of that. So are we just rewarding the people most willing to become full-on orientation turncoats for a whiff of power? Is that the cool thing? Whoever has the most power and the money, it's all cool, whatever they do. Well, with us right now is John Casey, a columnist with Raw Story, The Advocate, Daily Beast, and Outsports, where he writes about the strange intersection of politics, culture, and the people who keep both industries permanently overcaffeinated. 30 years working everywhere from Capitol Hill to Hollywood, so he has seen how the sausage gets made, how the message gets polished, and how yesterday's absolute certainty somehow becomes today's, well, I never said that. John Casey, I want to welcome you to the Cary Harrison Files.
Well, thanks for having me, Cary. And I just want to say before we begin, somewhere 6 feet under John Wayne is scratching his head that he was compared to Liberace. So I just wanted to start on that.
I appreciate that correction. I only get to mention John Wayne once a year, and I will wait another year before I do it again. Let's start with the big one. Lindsey Graham went from calling Donald Trump a race-baiting, xenophobic religious bigot, perhaps true, to looking like he should have been getting frequent flyer miles on Air Force One. Total switcheroo. What happened? Was that political evolution, or was it the greatest hostage video in American politics?
Well, to begin with, Lindsey Graham has always been an opportunist. And so I worked on Capitol Hill for a number of years. And the desperation that members of Congress have in keeping their seats and keeping that power is real. And so Lindsey Graham went with the political wind at the moment. And so when it was good for him to be a moderate, that worked for him. When it was good for him to be John McCain's and Joe Lieberman's best friend, that worked for him. As the political tide started to turn, as MAGA started to grow, and as the Republican Party started to disappear, so did Lindsey Graham. So it's all about being opportunistic and then diving in with both feet and being as loyal to Trump as you could possibly be, because the voters in South Carolina were loyal to him too.
You said John Casey, Lady Graham, or Lady G as his nickname was. This, believe it or not, this will be the first time regular people, whatever regular people are, I suppose they're not irregular people, or maybe they take a lot of fiber. I'm not sure. But the first time regular people will have heard of his nickname, though everyone in DC knew of his nickname. How did he get away with that in a government where DEI has been literally washed off of walls? Sidewalks in Florida have all been scrubbed clean of rainbow crosswalks. There are no such thing as women, black people, gays. It's all gone completely. Pete Hegseth, has sanitized the world. Yet Lindsey Graham wowee, he's on Meet the Press, and you just go, gosh, I want him to bake me a bundt cake.
Well, first of all, I do not know whether Lindsey Graham is gay or not. But and I wrote this in the column after he died. My grandfather always, who was clever with words, when he absolutely believed that something he heard about somebody, he would invert the saying, where there's smoke, there's fire, and he would say, where there's fire, there's smoke. And so that's what I think it was with Lady G. And we had to be very careful about how we approached that when he was alive. I mean, and even now, but it's not easy to stay in the closet these days. When I worked on the Hill, there were a number of members in the closet, and the Hill it still is sort of a small community, so you knew who they were. So that's why I believe personally that he was in the closet, because I've heard it for 30 years. From my friends on the Hill, from the lobbyists, my friends who are lobbyists now, and so the rumor was there. I believe it now, or did believe it, and but that's just my opinion.
Well, I know we can't really know. Forensically speaking, if we were to act like a cop looking at a scene, we would wonder how the absolutely not gay Lindsey Graham, who wasn't married, didn't have kids, was said to live alone, who exactly called the paramedics when he had a heart attack in the middle of the night, unless maybe his massage therapist named Troy was passing through town and doing a sleepover. we just don't know this, do we?
No, we don't. And on one hand, it's rather sad that he died alone, but on the other hand, he a little bit of a pun here. He made his own bed. I've spoken to a lot of people throughout my years, people who've come out of the closet late in life, a woman who came out in her 90s. And when I talk to older people, the older generation has a much more difficult time coming to terms with their sexuality. And they don't look at it as the way the younger generation does now. And that may have applied a little bit to him, but he was so narcissistic. I believe if he was gay, the only reason he stayed in the closet was because the voters of South Carolina probably wouldn't have reelected him. So you have to go with that mindset first, that he would have done anything to keep his job. And even if that meant sacrificing his personal life. And that goes back to somebody that I wrote about after he died, which is Paul Rubens. And I spoke to his sister.
We're talking about Pee-wee for those who know the name, but bam, Pee-wee, as in Big Adventure, Playhouse.
Yeah, so with the documentary that was released about him after he died, he admitted to being gay. And he actually lived a very open life. Back in the 70s, he had a boyfriend, and he was very big in the gay community in San Francisco. But he made a decision. He made a decision to put his career first, which he had to sacrifice, and he sacrificed his personal life. And so everything was about his career. And so I think there's a comparison to be drawn here with Lindsey Graham. It was just about career. That meant everything to him, and having that power, and having now, in his final years, the access to the President of the United States.
Cary Harris with you. This is the Cary Harrison Files, live streaming right now on Instagram, live streaming on YouTube, live streaming on everything with a chip and a signal. Later, of course, the podcast and everything from Spotify to Apple to wherever you want to go. You can also get our newsletter at caryharrison.com, C-A-R-Y, let me try that one. Slowly, where we will have an entire transcript of this broadcast, plus other stuff. We're going to be opening up the phones shortly and talking about the president's speech last night and a potential law that has never been used. It's not really a law. It's called the Doomsday Book. And is he going to crack it open? And what does that mean for you? Doomsday, a really accurate word. So you're going to want to hang on for that. We're talking right now to John Casey, senior editor at The Advocate, also writes for Raw Story, columnist for, just about everything that you'd ever want to read. So he is a ubiquitous character with great eyeballs. He's over his journalism career, which has spanned more than 3 decades. He's worked from Capitol Hill to Hollywood, covering politics, public policy, the intersection of culture and power. And right now we're examining the political legacy of the late Senator Lindsey Graham and the debate over public accountability after a public figure's death, and what Graham's evolution says about loyalty, ambition, and the modern Republican Party. And so amazing was he that his own sister has just been thrown in to replace him, because obviously being a senator is like a first grade level. I mean, what would you think? Or do you just call it nepotism and you get a free pass? I mean, this is like unbelievable.
Well, I mean, it is sort of, she's only going to fill out his term for the next few months. I don't think she'll run for re-election. So it's more a way of paying homage to him. But I think it's important when we do talk about Lindsey Graham, and in the context of whether he was gay or not, is that his voting record was so anti-LGBTQ. And that is what made him such a visceral enemy, I think, of the community, because here he was leading if he was leading a double life. And then he had, the self-loathing, if you want to call it that, voting against marriage equality, equal rights for LGBTQ people. I mean, he was pretty much always on the no side of anything that had to do with advancing the rights of LGBTQ people. And so that was what angered so many people, that if he was gay, then why is he stabbing us in the back?
It reminds me, I guess I'll out myself in front of you, John. The audience probably already knows, but if they don't, well, too late now. That horse is already out of the gate. When I was in the closet I think in my 20s, mostly, maybe early 30s as well, and I was like news director on some stations. I ended up in CBS in Chicago, and I just thought, if I come out, then some redneck in a pickup truck is going to be waiting for me in my parking space. And that's going to be the end of me, because I didn't know, but I assumed that was the case. And also, I stayed away from being around gay people in public, because I figured if I'm around them, someone's going to think I like that flavor of ice cream. And while I do like that flavor of ice cream, nothing means anything, actually. But it's different if it's your career. It's not that it's just really your audience. It's what does the audience think, and are they going to pay money, and are big companies going to throw cash at you, and is AIPAC going to give you money, and are the Saudis going to love you? And the answer is you just have to pretend and they're willing to pretend too. It's not like anybody with an IQ above 80 doesn't go, right?
Well, I think I think we can make an analogy about your fear of having a pickup truck waiting for you outside, because Lindsey Graham was deathly afraid of what South Carolina voters thought of him. Proof of that is when on January 6th, he got up in the well of the Senate and he said, count me out. I'm done with Trump. And the next day he was in Reagan National Airport, and he was accosted by MAGA people who were calling him a coward, a traitor. And he was viscerally upset about that. So there was no alternative for him but to back off of those comments and jump back in with Trump again. So I think the same thing applied to his sexuality. I think if he was gay, he probably had the same fear you did, that he would return to South Carolina for a weekend, going around campaigning or whatnot, and a pickup truck would be waiting for him. So, because we have to remember something, when you live in an urban area like Chicago or Los Angeles or New York, I mean, there's a lot of open-minded people here, but you go into pockets in red states, particularly South Carolina, and they are definitely not accepting of LGBTQ people. So that was another thing. I think that I like the way you talked about that, because I think that's probably a fear he lived with.
Listen, were you forced into getting a solar contract and now you just don't want it anymore? Maybe the solar company misled you. Or is your solar contract buried with hidden fees? Are you not saving the amount of money you thought you would on your energy costs? Don't worry. At the Solar Exit Hotline, we can help you cancel your solar contract, even if the panels are already installed. Our experienced legal team will review your contract and help you cancel it, possibly saving you thousands of dollars. You got to call right now for complete details. So listen, if you're not happy with your solar contract for any reason, we are here to help you cancel it. Call the Solar Exit Hotline now for immediate options to help you exit your solar contract. This call is 100% free.
Call 877-406-5860. That's 877-406-5860. Call 877-406-5860. That's 877-406-5860. Call us right now.
And that's, I think that's in a way a soothing emollient to the hypocrisy, which is just it just outrages people. But then to remember, those of us in urban settings can be outraged, but you do step into a blood red state or blood red area, and you just don't know if you're going to be shot for walking in the Walmart in the wrong direction. And that is the reality today. I'm wondering, John Casey, what does the Lindsey Graham story tell us about Donald Trump's hold on people? Was this persuasion, intimidation, political addiction, or just watching ambition overwhelm principle in real time?
Well, I think in Lindsey Graham's case, and it's been talked about before, that Donald Trump is so impulsive and unpredictable. And so there was the theory that Lindsey Graham was afraid, because Donald Trump clearly knew his secret, that if Lindsey did anything to upset Donald Trump, there was no telling what Trump would do to retaliate, even if that meant throwing Lindsey and his sexuality under the bus. So that goes back to, I think, it's baffling, but people are afraid of Donald Trump, and they're afraid of being subjected to vitriol on his Truth Social, and having MAGA people just be outraged at somebody. You can look at what happened in the Republican primaries around the country, particularly with, John Corman and Thomas Massey in Kentucky. They lost, and they lost badly to subpar candidates, but Trump backed them. So Trump still has that power in the party. But when it comes to a general election, we're looking at it in Texas now. I mean, Ken Paxton, if the worst candidate in the history of candidates is Donald Trump, which he is, then the second worst would be Ken Paxton. And so the Democrats have Tallarico now, a very formidable candidate. So the MAGA folks can get so far, but it's why that the Democrats have hope that they can retake the House and the Senate, because many of the MAGA candidates advance because of Trump's endorsement, but they're not going to win over those independents in the general election.
I want to thank you, John Casey. Where can we find you here and there?
I guess I write on The Advocate once or twice a week, on Ross Story about 3 times a week, the Daily Beast about once a week, and then the Outsports whenever the idea hits. So I don't really have I'm not a social media guy, but you can find me on LinkedIn. I do post all of my columns there.
Well, you'll have a nice long shelf life here, so you'll always look like that.
And I'm going to leave this program with the John Wayne Liberace mask in my head. That will stick with me the rest of the day. So thank you for that, Cary.
All right, my friend. It's great talking to you, and look forward to talking to you again. John Casey is a columnist with Ross Story, The Advocate, Daily Beast, Outsports, where he writes about the strange intersection of politics, culture, and the people who keep both industries permanently overcaffeinated. 30 years working everywhere from Capitol Hill to Hollywood. So he's seen how the sausage gets made, how the messages get polished, and how yesterday's absolute certainty becomes today's, well, I never said that. And boy, have we heard that many, many times before. Coming up, our imperial kumquat says Republicans should take over the midterm voting by enacting an obscure emergency law for detaining people without trial, censoring the press completely, flipping an internet kill switch, commandeering social media, and even grounding regular Americans to stop them from traveling, as in leaving the country, like Cuba or Russia or Germany once upon a time. We're going to examine the president's actual authority over this little-known emergency power while suspending elections at the same time, and ask, what's the one power no president should ever have? Your calls and texts are next. 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. You can also text your Harrison text line at 310-737-TALK.
Smells like fish. Tastes like chocolate.
The Cary Harrison Files.
CaryHarrison.com.
How'd it happen?
She showed up dead on arrival.
This never gets easier.
It does when you call CarShield before your car breaks down. Look at these prices. The camshaft, transmission, engine.
Don't people know? A plan through CarShield could protect up to 5,000 parts and systems.
You hate to see it.
An out-of-warranty car is going to break down eventually.
Right, which is why they need a plan through CarShield.
Best of all, you'll get access to CarShield's concierge service, who can even help you find a mechanic near you.
They're notifying the family.
Poor guy. He doesn't even know what's coming.
Another victim of senselessly expensive repair bills. Can't save them all.
But we can keep trying. Didn't have to end this way. If he'd have just called CarShield before his car broke down.
Exactly.
CarShield has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau and was voted America's most trusted auto protection company. It's time to call CarShield now. Call 800-786-8390. 800-786-8390. Call 800-786-8390.
The Cary Harrison Files.
Like NPR on acid. CaryHarrison.com.
And it is the Cary Harrison Files, CaryHarrison.com. Don't forget, you can get our newsletter where you're going to get a transcript of the whole Lindsey Graham thing, which breaks down the why, the where, the what, and what we know, and why we know what we know, and what we can expect from the same party. There's some beautiful thing about being able to navigate systems where you understand what the systems are, and that way you're not just clobbered and beaten up by them. We're also live streaming right now on Instagram. Simply Google Cary, C-A-R-Y, Harrison, Instagram, or Cary Harrison YouTube or whatever, and you'll be able to watch us. And if you arrive in your car, you can simply grab your phone and keep going, keep listening, keep watching, and keep calling because the lines are open. I want you to picture a sales brochure. Let's do that. We're going to picture a sales brochure for the new American Golden Age. The president goes on television and casually announces that we're planning to bomb Iran's bridges and power plants as though he's discussing a kitchen remodel instead of another possible Middle East escalation. Of course, those of you who studied history know about the Nuremberg trials and know you absolutely cannot bomb other people's infrastructure or even just invade their country because you feel like it. Like, look, we're Germany. Look, it's Poland. We're just going to go and invade. And then everyone else. That was the point of the Nuremberg trials. And who ran them? America. And who came up with international law? America. And who's violated? Well, not you or me. That's for sure. Iran's response to all this? Well, Reuters reports that its leadership is asking the Houthis to close the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, one of the world's critical oil choke points. Because if you're going to flirt with a global energy crisis, why settle for one bottleneck when you can have two? We've already watched the Strategic Petroleum Reserve shrink to levels not seen since the early 1980s. And that's before some of you listening were born. And if you're listening on a stream, your parents were probably teenagers then. And apparently, we're determined to rediscover inflation the old-fashioned way, not the algorithmic way. Meanwhile, Mother Nature, who stubbornly refuses to register Republican, she believes she's real, Mother Nature. She keeps conducting peer review. More than 800 wildfires in Canada are pumping smoke across the continent. Chicago now, Minneapolis now, Detroit are competing for the distinction of world's smoggiest city. It was Shanghai for a long time. It was here, it was there. Now Chicago, Minneapolis, and Detroit, world's smoggiest cities. New York is now handing out N95 masks like party favors. More than 100 million Americans are breathing air that looks like it was filtered through a diesel engine. And down in Texas, rivers are climbing 25 feet in about an hour because the atmosphere has apparently decided that subtlety is overrated. Half a year's worth of rain falls in a single burst. But don't worry. I'm sure somebody will explain it's just weather behaving patriotically. I think I'm at the end after all these, since Katrina. Like, they won't mention climate change. Nobody does. It's, well, it's cyclical. Every 110 million years and 4 days, the temperature drops. They won't mention climate change. It's just not real. Half a year's worth of rain falls in a single burst, but don't worry. And then, because every apocalypse deserves comic relief, nearly 7,000 Americans are dealing with a parasite calling what doctors politely call explosive diarrhea. That's the medical term. Can't come up with something better, because boy, does it say it all. Hollywood would reject a script for being too on the nose now, wouldn't it? So let's take inventory. War talk, oil choke points, smoke-filled skies, historic floods, air quality alerts, a nationwide gastrointestinal revolt. And if this is what's making America great again, it looks like, I think we'd all hate to see the rough draft. So let's picture a casino owner wandering into the World Series of Poker. Grabs the dealer by the lapels and announces, I've got a terrific idea. From now on, I deal every hand. That's roughly the level of subtlety we're dealing with here. According to recent reporting, the Mango Menace has been openly floating the idea that Republicans should take over the voting. That's a quote. Republicans should take over the voting in multiple states and even nationalize elections. That's an idea that lands somewhere between constitutional illiteracy and a diapered toddler announcing he's been promoted to king of gravity. Because the Constitution, as you know, that dusty old instruction manual that conservatives used to carry around like a Gideon Bible at a motel, the Constitution actually assigns the administration of elections primarily to the states. The states! The states, with Congress having limited authority to regulate federal elections. The White House especially does not get to appoint itself Supreme Emperor of Ballotville just because Joe Rogan had a small orgasm. So what's this all about, really? Well, there's something that feels like a science fiction movie or like a conspiracy theory, and it's a series of apocalypse-level documents nicknamed the Doomsday Book, officially known as PEADS, P-E-A-D-S, which stands for Presidential Emergency Action Documents. Recently declassified records hint at draft orders that would let the president, quote, detain so-called dangerous persons without trial. Gosh, who says that you're a dangerous person or not? Whoever says it. It would allow the president to censor the press, as in completely. It would allow the president to flip an internet kill switch. Well, so much for planning anything, communicating at all, seeing what's happening. It would allow the president to commandeer social media, flip the internet switch, commandeer social media. It pretty much commandeering social media has already happened. Ever tried writing anything other than a recipe or how bad your sunburn is and see how many times you get pulled, canceled, blocked? My favorite would allow the president, this is the Doomsday Book, or PEDS, which stands for Presidential Emergency Action Documents, would allow the president to ground Americans, that means no more airplanes, and stop them from traveling. You can't leave. The great jailer of the continent. You can't leave. Already that's happening. You can't come in, right? We're all getting used to it. You can't come in. Just yesterday, we learned that visas for international students, like, 19-year-olds that want to come and study, it's going to be like $100,000 just to get such a visa to come here. So you can't come in has already happened. It's in the process of being completed. The you can't leave part, that's the other side of the teeter-totter, and that's being discussed. And that may be the plot of the play, to derail the midterms and derail freedom of movement as we once knew it. In Eastern Europe, this was called communism. In previous Germany, it was National Socialism. And in our new MAGA world, it's called the spirit of, or in the spirit of George Orwell, freedom. Censor the press, flip an internet kill switch, commandeer social media, or even ground Americans and stop them from traveling? Your Harrison hotlines are open. 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. Or you can text your Harrison text line at 310-737-TALK. We no longer bother pretending to sneak toward authoritarianism. We live stream it like an influencer unboxing fascism in counter-rotating nipple tassels on TikTok. Yesterday's strongman at least had the decency to arrive wearing polished boots, surrounded by, goose-stepping extras and Wagner blasting through giant loudspeakers. Today's version stumbles in wearing a red hat, waving his arms like an inflatable tube man outside a discount tire shop, yelling, "We're going to take over the voting." It's the constitutional equivalent of watching an aardvark discover cocaine behind a Waffle House dumpster. This entire production resembles a traveling carnival run by people who'd failed a written exam to operate a tilt-a-whirl. Every problem somehow has the same solution. Give more power to the guy already holding the biggest megaphone. Lost an election? Federal takeover. Don't trust absentee ballots? Federal takeover. Stub your toe? Call the Fuhrer. Probably nationalize podiatry while we're at it. If this keeps going, you can expect an executive order declaring that squirrels are now under Homeland Security because one of them hooked its foreskin on a mailbox. Legal scholars across the ideological spectrum have pointed out that there's no obvious constitutional mechanism allowing a president simply to seize control of state-run elections with any kind of emergency declaration. The founding daddies, my ancestors, some of yours too, they never envisioned that the Oval Office should magically rewrite Article 1 with a Sharpie. That's an important distinction if we're going to criticize reality instead of inventing our own. Meanwhile, the political sales pitch has all the finesse of a chimpanzee trying to defuse a landmine with a baseball bat. Trust us, they say. By the way, I'm going to jump to the phones in just a second. I'm just wound up tighter than a, what kind of animal would this be? I'll think of it later. Trust us, they say. June, hang on. Tom, hang on. Fred, Frank, and a Mildred, a real oh, now we're going to save her. We're going to save her that. Trust us, right? This is what they're telling us. The only way to protect democracy is to put democracy in a headlock until it stops resisting. That's like announcing the best way to preserve a wedding cake is to feed it into a wood chipper. The logic doesn't merely collapse, it detonates, it catches fire, and then it sues the fire department for election fraud. And that's where the whole spectacle graduates from merely absurd to premium grade USDA certified political performance art. America was founded by people who got violently annoyed over taxes on tea or any ability to spread their backyards westward. Yet now we're debating whether one branch of government should casually absorb powers it doesn't possess because somebody thinks elections work better when one team gets to referee, keep the score, own the stadium, sell the hot dogs, and declare victory before halftime. If irony generated electricity, Washington would glow bright enough to be seen from one of Mr. Musk's satellites. So here we are again, watching another episode of As the Republic Turns, where every constitutional crisis is packaged like a reality show cliffhanger. Every outrageous statement gets defended as just joking after the backlash arrives, and every day feels like somebody replaced James Madison's notes with the back of a Cracker Barrel kids menu. It's government by food fight. Messy, loud, sticky, and sometimes always ending with somebody insisting that they're the victim while wearing mashed potatoes as a necktie. And somehow, against all known laws of biology, of physics, of basic adult supervision, this circus keeps finding even bigger clowns. So where does this road end? Your Harrison hotline's 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. You can also text your Harrison text line at 310-737-TALK. Let's go to June in Los Angeles. June, you're on the Cary Harrison Files. Welcome. Hello, June.
Explosive diarrhea.
So we have Sly on the board, and I know he's new. This is a little complicated, the way the software works. So fiddle around with it. There we go. June, I hear you.
Great. Explosive diarrhea. Explosive diarrhea. About a month ago, you did a diatribe about a new marijuana strain wherein people were going to the hospital emergency room with explosive diarrhea. But now we have this parasite that has explosive diarrhea. Are they one and the same? Is the parasite on the marijuana? Or what's up?
No, it's the general cyclosporidium class of this bacteria, which is covering multiple states, like 24 states. And the food supply is not regulated like it used to be. You might remember, one whole year ago, under Sleepy Joe Biden, the USDA and the FDA used to test food for bacterial infections and such. And if there was a bad head of lettuce or something, things were recalled. Well, no longer do we test for that. We have decommissioned that, much as we've decommissioned the Department of Education, decommissioned organizations overseas that give HIV meds to kids, where we've decommissioned pretty much everything that makes sense to you, a living mammal down here that relies on this stuff. So now we're seeing, here's what happens when you don't do anything about it. Of course, it's being reported like, well, this is just very bizarre. They must have eaten a foul Twinkie. Yeah, the government is the Twinkie, and you and I are the frosting.
Yes, but it's curious to me that we have the explosive diarrhea story at pretty much the same time and space. That's all I'm talking about. That's all.
Okay. Well, I think the gods have a great sense of humor, and maybe this is the thing that motivates the public. We certainly know that during COVID, the first thing to go was toilet paper. Don't ask me why. I would have picked food, I would have picked water, but in this country, it was toilet paper. So maybe that's going to be our call to action. I want to thank you so much, June. You are awesome. Appreciate it. I love when women call in. Love, love, love. 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. You can also text your Harrison text line at 310-737-TALK. We're going to take more calls. Mark, you're going to be next after this quick pause. It is the Cary Harrison Files. Don't forget to get our newsletter at CaryHarrison.com. There you're going to get a transcript of everything, including the calls, including June. Who doesn't want to read what June said? Maybe in bold. Maybe with a red font if you behave.
How'd it happen?
She showed up dead on arrival.
This never gets easier.
It does when you call CarShield before your car breaks down. Look at these prices. The camshaft, transmission, engine.
Don't people know? A plan through CarShield could protect up to 5,000 parts and systems.
You hate to see it.
An out-of-warranty car is going to break down eventually.
Right, which is why they need a plan through CarShield.
Best of all, you'll get access to CarShield's concierge service, who can even help you find a mechanic near you.
They're notifying the family.
Poor guy. He doesn't even know what's coming.
Another victim of senselessly expensive repair bills. Can't save them all.
But we can keep trying. Didn't have to end this way. If he'd have just called CarShield before his car broke down.
Exactly.
CarShield has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau and was voted America's most trusted auto protection company. It's time to call CarShield now. Call 800-786-8390. 800-786-8390. Call 800-786-8390.
And it is the Cary Harrison Files. Cary Harrison with you. Our newsletter at CaryHarrison.com. Live streaming right now on Instagram, on YouTube, anything with a chip and a signal, of course. Anytime afterwards, podcasts are available, whatever it's called. We're on there, and we are there to keep you company. When we do our pledge drives down the road, I think we've got one coming up. This becomes school for a lot of red states where, unfortunately, 1,000 books have been banned, and including this show, because this becomes an audiobook on Audible. So you can find us there too. And because we're banned, it does leak through, and we become school for people. So just know your calls, your thoughts, your texts, here's one right now, becomes a scholastic moment. Rabid raccoon instead of tabby cat in vending machine. Wish we could collaborate. Anyway, thanks for taking on Berserkany genocide. And of course, it refreshes as 14 new texts come in. Oh, well, I'll figure out a way to stall those things so I can actually read them. If a president can decide elections says that they need to be taken over, who exactly decides when that power ends? If one administration claims emergency authority over voting, what stops the next administration from claiming an even bigger emergency? Even if the next administration is somehow this administration again. But wait a minute, you can't. The Constitution says no. Well, we're talking about how the Constitution says no and what they're looking to do. So if you're comfortable handing that power to your favorite politician, are you just as comfortable handing it to the one you despise? And at what point does saving democracy become the excuse for shrinking it? This is why we were all forced to read 1984 and Animal Farm, weren't we? Or at least watch the Animal Farm movie, if I remember, some cartoon in color. Made in the 50s, I think it was. But we were forced to read this stuff so that we would understand. George Orwell, Huxley later, so that we would understand it if it ever actually came in front of us. And here it is. And if this proposal, the Doomsday Book, to take away the internet, to stop people from traveling, which of course cancels the midterms because it's red alert time. It's the red alert manual. And they've kept it out of his hands. They have. But now he's got it. If this proposal had come from Barack Obama or Joe Biden or Gavin Newsom, if it were any of them, would the reaction be exactly the same? Or would cable news be like a room full of toddlers after someone yelled, "Free puppies"? Are we applying one constitutional standard or two, or maybe seven? Is this another example of saying the quiet part out loud? Seeing how people react and then moving the goalposts another 10 yards if nobody pushes back? Where's your line? Not your party's line, not your favorite cable network's line, your line. What's the one thing a president should never be allowed to do, even if it's the president you voted for? I'd really like to hear where you stand on this. Your Harrison hotlines, 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. You can also text your Harrison text line at 310-737-TALK. Let's go to Mark in Los Angeles. You're on the Cary Harrison Files. Welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you sound like a tiny little mosquito yelling through a Dixie cup.
Well, not quite, but I wanted to commend you on the political perspective that you put forward. I'm a member of the Machinists Union in Los Angeles and also active in the Hands Off Cuba Committee. And I think the authoritarianism of Washington now, of Trump Rubio, is exhibited very starkly with the oil blockade of Cuba and the greatest humanitarian crisis that they are creating artificially by denying Cuba oil. And despite the fact that 187 countries at the UN vote every year to end the blockade of Cuba, the U.S. has tightened it up. Over 1,800 babies have died in the last 6 months because of no electricity in the ICU units. And with the cutting off of oil, you can imagine what that does to the electrical grid, to jobs, to work. Those of us who are involved in sending medical aid to Cuba, we get it to Cuba. It's one of the few things that we can send to Cuba. So we are employing people throughout the United States to join in protesting this humanitarian crisis created by Trump and demanding that the sanctions and the blockade be lifted and let the people of Cuba live. If Trump and Rubio say it's a failed state, well, then let it fail on its own. But I don't think it will, because when trade was opened up during the Obama administration a little bit, and hundreds of thousands of North Americans and Cuban Americans went to Cuba to see for themselves, there was an unbelievable openness and expansion of the economy and the country and political expressions. And so the blockade should be ended. That's all I've got to say.
Appreciate that, Mark. And the quality of your audio improved. You went from mosquito to bumblebee, and it was delicious. I want to thank you for your call, my friend. That opens up a line at 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. You can shoot a text to your Harrison text line at 310-737-TALK. Let's go to Danielle in Los Angeles. You're on the Cary Harrison Files. Welcome. Daniel or Danelle? Danelle. Is this Danelle? Daniel.
Hello.
Hello there. I'm just trying to pronounce your name. So it's you I'm talking to. Help me with your name.
Harold.
Okay, Daryl. Happy to hear your voice. You are on the air.
Yes. Back to that caller about the diarrhea. I didn't quite understand about the relation of marijuana and the diarrhea.
So a few weeks ago, we did a story on the effects of chronic marijuana use, not just smoking joints, but it's pharmaceutical grade now. So this is laboratory THC. And they have been studying the brains of people. There is an actual syndrome, and it's massive in California where, as you know, I'm in West Hollywood. I can walk down to the corner and there's MedMen and this one and that one and that one, everything within a block and a line around the corner. And they have found that people that are doing it not once a day, but twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, chronically are ending up in ERs. Many are having seizures. It's actual projectile emesis. So it's not diarrhea. It's vomiting, projectile vomiting, and cramping. And the only thing that seems to help is a boiling hot shower, which is counterintuitive, but that's what people are doing. And we're talking tens of thousands of people. Plus in other cities where medical marijuana, it's just the consistent use of these pharmaceutical grade things. So that's what she's talking about. She just got her holes mixed up.
Oh, well, because that makes sense because it's related to water. And if I'm not mistaken, the farms were in California and the so-called pharmaceutical grade marijuana is raised in these warehouses, but the quality of water has declined so rapidly. I mean, it's bad because AI is taking the clean water, and then the wastewater that comes after A&I,
like A&I root beer.
The farmers. And so it looks like it'd be the future. In fact, that's the big fight of why I'm getting my inheritance, because they're co-mingling the waters. One is for, as you see on the freeway, non-potable or whatever it's called.
Potable, drinkable.
Yeah. So, wow, it's scary. So this water thing is big and related to the authoritarian government. They are coming in, ignoring everybody, and they got soldiers. I'm talking about private soldiers that tell these companies, you got to get out because now we own it. So it's crazy.
We're going to see some interesting battles, particularly in Colorado, Utah, Nevada, places where the Colorado River starts, where the snow melts and it comes down. The Grand Canyon is the sluice that ends up feeding California. Some 28, 30 million people get their water out of there. And then you've got Las Vegas, which has nothing. I mean, it's a desert. Think about the wonder of man that every ashtray, every conveyor belt, the entire, what is it? Venice, the canals, the boats, the uniforms, the costumes, the cigarette butts, all of it, 100% of it brought in, and all of it because of water. So more and more water are going to be needed. And to your point, Mark, and thank you so much for your call, to your point, these giant, massive 5-block centers that are these data centers that control the AI has increased electrical consumption on Earth by 10%. And like a nuclear power plant, it needs lots of water to cool it because it burns hot. Just like if you'll remember your laptop when you first got it, or your computer, it would heat up super hot and you had fans running. It was loud running a computer in the old days. You had to cool it. Well, these things really cook, and water is the quickest way to make it cool. I want to thank you so much, my friend. I think we have time to squeeze in one super quickie. Let's say hi to Harold in Santa Barbara. You're on the Cary Harrison Files. Welcome. Harold. Maybe not Harold. I want to thank you, Renee Yawarski, our director. She's in somewhere in the Northeast. You are a goddess. Her brain, it would take 5 rooms. It would take 16 data centers to be able to harness her intelligence. It is a gift from the gods, all 12 ancient Greek gods, and I believe in them all, Dionysus, all of them, Zeus. She has been given to me for that purpose, and I am lucky. I am on, as I have always done, I'm on a single knee right now. Even though you're watching on video, you can't see it, but just pretend. She is awesome. I cannot honor her enough. I want to thank you, Sly Rivers, for jumping in today and working the audio board at KPFK, and also receiving this video signal and restreaming it, and all of the technical hootenanny that we do uniquely on this show. And the rest of the station is going to get it too. So we have built this massive infrastructure that's totally cool. Going to say bye-bye. Looking forward to seeing you all next week. And don't forget, get our newsletter where you're going to get an entire transcript of this plus other stuff we can no longer do on the radio. And that's at CaryHarrison.com, C-A-R-Y Harrison.com. Make sure you get that. Thank you so much. I love hanging out with you. And today, if you missed the first minute, I'm in Switzerland. How weird that we can pull this off from the Alps. But I love pushing the technology. Push, make it work. And it sure does. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you next week.
Listen, were you forced into getting a solar contract and now you just don't want it anymore? Maybe the solar company misled you. Or is your solar contract buried with hidden fees? Are you not saving the amount of money you thought you would on your energy costs? Don't worry. At the Solar Exit Hotline, we can help you cancel your solar contract, even if the panels are already installed. Our experienced legal team will review your contract and help you cancel it, possibly saving you thousands of dollars. You got to call right now for complete details. So listen, if you're not happy with your solar contract for any reason, we are here to help you cancel it. Call the Solar Exit Hotline now for immediate options to help you exit your solar contract. This call is 100% free.
Call 877-406-5860. That's 877-406-5860. Call 877-406-5860. That's 877-406-5860. Call us right now.